Welcome to the Mojo Market Report. Here's your hosts, Dave Sturchio and Chris Gueci.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Mojo Market Report right here on a feel-good football Friday. It is here. Playoffs are here again. It is the divisional round. We'll be diving into all the matchups today. We've already covered a lot of the positions and a lot of the guys you should be investing in on a day trade type situation where these, the matchups they speak for themselves. It's incredible. We can't wait for it. It's going to be great. I want to remind everybody right now that if you're a weirdo green texter, aka an Android user, you can now download the Mojo app onto your phone. So now we're available on both iPhones and Androids. So we're excited about that. They're testing some stuff out over the weekend as well. So be in the know. Go over to mojo.com. They explain it all of what they're trying to get done. So it's actually really exciting stuff. Got new sports, new states, all this stuff coming up very, very soon. But before we get there, we got to get to the playoffs. And they start this weekend once again with the divisional round. So let's break down some of these divisional rounds. And I do want to let you guys know that it is none other than Dave Sturchio and, of course, Chris Gueci and, of course, A5 Anthony behind the glass here at Chop Studios. Had to get that in there before I forgot. Almost just breezed right by it. And Anthony at the end of the show would have been like, hey, by the way, you didn't say who the hell you were. So want to inform everybody who we are. All right, Jaguars Chiefs. We've been talking about it all week. We've been talking about the historic comeback out of the Jaguars last week.
Yeah.
Very exciting stuff there, but in come the team that's been waiting in the wings and just overall dominance. I don't know. How do you see this one playing out? Are there any guys that jump off the charts at you at sneaky little plays? Yesterday you had a play about Boston Scott, Papa Scott. Everybody kind of popped for that one. That was exciting stuff. But this game in particular, who are you looking for?
It's hard to go anywhere but all offensive Chiefs players. But really, I think the Jaguars pass catchers are going to have themselves a day as well. So I think this is a game where you could pretty much take your pick on both sides of the ball. There is the obvious thing where one of these two team seasons ends, it's a playoff. So Jaguars players, though, out of all the teams that you're looking at in the NFL and you're looking towards next season and you look at the second halves of teams this year, the Jaguars look like they're a really strong bunch, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. Doug Peterson, Trevor Lawrence, Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley coming to town. We don't know what's happening with Evan Ingram.
I keep forgetting about Calvin Ridley. This is insane.
Yeah. ETN, and then I'm sure they'll be able to figure out another running back to add to the mix because it's starting to look like a fun offense.
You're giving up on Snoop Connor already?
Well, either someone else added to the
emerges
mix,
or
some emergence from somebody else because they've been there a little bit and they have their eye on him.
Right.
But yeah, you could take your pick across the board on offense on the Jaguars for me because if you're willing to hold on to these players all season, and now think about this. Think about the potential of upsetting the Chiefs on the road for a Trevor Lawrence stock or something like that. That's one of these legacy-making wins that if you do that early on in your career in the postseason, there's the sky's the limit already, but it'll just put the rocket up his ass a little bit more.
Yeah, we said it earlier. That's perfect. That's one of my favorite lines from one of the Major League movies. He'll need a rocket up his ass to get that one.
To the moon.
So the only thing that concerns me with the Jaguars is, in fact, their start that they had last week. This is a team you can't start like that with. You can't turn the ball over 4 times against Patrick Mahomes. They'll cash in every single time. No. They have such a lethal offense. And, of course, your normal plays, you should, like, since the inception of this show and this product, you should have been Mahomes all the way. That's a guy you use the multipliers on because even on a bad day, he's still throwing for 300 and like 3 touchdowns. That's that's a walk in the park for Patrick Mahomes. Now, big stage, you get home. Doug Peterson, listen, he's historically has had some underdog teams kind of run through the playoffs, a la the Eagles. You know what I mean? And he's done big things. I mean, he's got a freaking statue outside of the link.
Put it this way, I'm not giving them a chance, but there is, clearly, because they have
You're not giving them a chance. Even when the Chiefs struggled a little bit over like the Texans in the back half of this year, the Chiefs showed that like
the Chiefs, I'll
some
consider
holes.
them somewhat like the Spurs were when they were kind of just getting through the regular season. I know that the Chiefs are getting up for every game.
Ginobili days?
Yeah.
Nice.
Well,
like little Parker days?
This is when the Chiefs are playing their seasons to get to this point. And everything is riding on this point. That matchup with either Buffalo or Kansas or Cincinnati, I think the Chiefs have their eyes set on that, which could be dangerous. But I think they're too well coached.
Yeah, you don't want to look too far ahead.
Yeah, I'm not getting behind
The NFL has already decided to start selling tickets to the neutral ground site So that's another thing that Jaguars might be like, oh, yeah? Oh, yeah, dude? You want to sell tickets before we even get stepped on the field? All right, sell the tickets.
Trevor
Sell the
Lawrence
tickets.
did also come out and say, well, the Kansas City fans, I can't imagine them being much louder than our fans were this past Saturday.
I mean, they've done decibel level tests over in Kansas City.
Now, let's think about this for a second. Duval County, no disrespect. But
No, utter disrespect.
No disrespect, because when it comes time for a big game, the fans show up and they act crazy. But the Chiefs fans have been doing this for a really
Chiefs
long
Kingdom
time.
is a whole sea of red.
That's a tough stadium to play in. And now when you have the starting quarterback of the other team unwittingly giving them the fans locker room bulletin board material. Woo.
Can I ask you a question, though? Like, from a logistics standpoint. Every game, through every season, every location, you'll see a sporadic amount of opposite fans. Are we going to see any teal jerseys in Kansas City right now? Like, would any of those Florida guys travel to the cold Kansas City?
Well, there could be a rando in there, here or there, that's like a Jaguars
I just feel like,
fan from
like the Cowboys,
Missouri.
they travel well, the Packers, the 49ers, all these
I think when you have what you have now, the new age fan, and I see this a lot, and I'm like this in the NBA, where people might just be in on the Jaguars because they're super in on Trevor Lawrence. Where if you're a collector or if you're those people exist.
No offense. It's like, I'm in on this because I got all his autographs.
Well, I'm trying to find ways to come up with a victory dance for Trevor Lawrence, because there is a PSA 10 graded True Prism rookie sitting in the other room that I would like to double up on.
Yeah, well, a win here will double up that price, maybe triple it. Anyway, so you got no shot. The Jaguars don't have a shot in your eyes.
I'm thinking about it now. Due to that True Prism rookie, I think the Jaguars might now.
All right.
That would be ideal. I'm in on Trevor Lawrence, as you guys well know now. I'm pulling for them, but I just don't see it.
Yeah,
I mean, this is the heavyweight.
I'm also pulling for them.
Right here.
I like the story. I like the quarterback. Again, the story's fun. I don't know. I don't see it. I mean, these guys aren't the Chargers. You know what I mean? Like the Chiefs are a high-powered offense.
Let's just agree that we'll all pull for the Jaguars. We know they're not going to win, but if they do, we'll just say there's nobody here that's like, I had a feeling. No.
No.
I'm hopeful, but the Chiefs should win this game outright handily.
Yeah,
that's how this should go.
All right, Saturday night in prime time, the New York Football Giants decided they wanted to travel on down to the Turnpike and stop off in Philadelphia. It's the Eagles and the Giants. We've been talking about this all week. We've been talking about Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley at length. The Eagles coming off the bye, so they haven't played in a little while. The only thing I'll say in regards to the Eagles is that they haven't played a meaningful football game in 3-4 weeks. You know what I mean? Like when they lost to Dallas on Christmas Eve, they now needed to have some wins, and then they lost again to the Saints. And then you're setting up a Week 18 matchup where it's just like, we're going to run through these guys. So if you count Week 18, the divisional round, and this week leading up, it's been 3 weeks since they had a try. So that's the only reason why I think that a guy like Jalen Hurts will go out there, who I believe, I'm not a doctor. The Mojo has a doctor on staff. I'm not one, but I think he's a little bit more banged up than people talked about. I think the fact that the Giants have a decent pass rush now and guys, big boys in the front, Thibodeau, the other guy was Dexter Lawrence, those guys, they can wreak some havoc. I'm trying to pitch for the Giant fans, but the Eagles are an all-world team. They got good players at every position.
I truly think the Giants are going to get smoked.
Not even just run out of Philly.
I could be wrong here, clearly. And I know that, look, if you watched a clip last week, you might be like, what is he talking about? He just said Daniel Jones was the best quarterback that ever existed. No, look, Jalen Hurts is fully healthy now, and I know that you're probably right that he probably is a little bit banged up, but I think everybody is. And he finally had the injury designation removed. I think he was more hurt than people may have thought originally, because they were very, hush-hush about it, which is typical at this point in the season. But when I'm looking at what Philly does well, and it's on offense, they do everything well, and on defense, they do everything well. And not only do they do things well, they do them exceptionally well. It's not like they're a well-balanced team. They excel in all phases of the game. Giants really struggle stopping the run. On the road in Philly, I know that there's something about this Giant team where they have the moxie, but Philly has put it on them this year, right? And Philly's pass rush is a lot more to deal with than anything the Giants have been dealing with down the stretch.
70 sacks as a team this year, the Eagles. It's a
outside
lot.
outside of the game against the Vikings, which they managed to win, all right? But the Commanders game, they looked good. They needed that game, and the Giants showed up. But these are against teams that are the Commanders, It's not the Eagles. The Eagles, when they're coming to, they've been waiting for this game for about 8 weeks, 10 weeks now, where they kind of knew, like, all right, we're in the driver's seat for the 1 seed. So I don't think they've had real meaningful football games since week 10 in some ways, because they had such a huge lead in the NFC.
Don't you think that kind of pays in the favor of the Giants, who are playing hot right now?
I don't know if the Giants are particularly playing hot either, because you could make the same case. Like, when it comes time and it's like they flip the coin, the national anthem goes, bro, these guys are professionals. Like, I think it's a little bit, there's a lot more put into the time off. It's either A, you let that feeling creep in if you're a fan of the team and you're looking for a reason why, like, what could go wrong? And then if you're hoping for your opening, i.e. right here, where you want a home game in the playoffs, so you're pulling for the Giants. So it's like, you're trying to find your reasons. To me, that's not real reasons. It's like, look at the matchups. The Eagles have them almost across the board in every matchup, and that's why it's difficult.
As far as talent and skill levels, I think the Eagles do possess a lot more skill and a lot more talent. I just think, I think the Giants have an actual fighting chance to win this game.
There's a realistic chance at an upset this week. I don't know that there's a realistic chance at more than one upset this week. Because we feel like
I would love it to go chalk until Sunday night.
The Bengals-Bills game is, I don't care who wins that game, there's no upset. Right, we could agree.
I agree.
It's like,
it's the fact that it's in Buffalo, that would give me the upset vibes.
I would say that you could consider Dallas upsetting San Fran an upset, or beating San Fran an upset, because it's on the road and they're underdogs. So yeah,
100%.
But out of the Chiefs and the Jaguars and the Eagles and the Giants, do you think either of those teams really like?
I'm in on the Giants. I'll tell you right now, I'm in on the Giants. I don't know. Like I said, maybe I'm in on the whole feel good to be there type moment for this coaching staff. They've turned it around very quick. I hate to say it. Trust me, I'm a Cowboys guy. I hate to see this crap, but I think that
remains constant regardless. Like, if the Giants lose this game, we could put to bed the idea or the notion that their season has failed. No, the Giants had a really good season.
They definitely outkicked their coverage.
They kind
that's for sure.
Changed the culture over there, so it's huge.
All right, moving on. What?
Nobody cares about the Giants.
Our producer
besides
does.
Like half the people.
Got a guy raising his hand over there. Anyway, moving on. Bengals Bills on Sunday. So, just to be clear, you're not picking the Giants. Like, I'm just
no.
Okay, all right, fine.
Are we making picks?
I'm sort of leaning here again on a Friday. Why not? But anyway, moving on to Sunday again. Crazy story. Everybody knows what happened on Monday Night Football. They closed the game within it felt like there was like 10 minutes left in the first quarter. I feel like I don't remember exactly how much time it was.
Halfway down.
Yeah, so that game gets canceled. It now resumes and it starts over. And when you look at the film, you can't study the previous matchup because it didn't really exist, right? So I look at this game as the tale of two quarterbacks here. And while Josh Allen's been playing lights out football. I did get a stat from a friend of mine who's a Josh Allen guy or Bills fan. The Bills are 4-1. 4-1 when they turn the ball over 3 times. Okay? Teams in the NFL are 12-62 when they turn the ball over 3 times. So they're overcoming what they've done.
What's the second stat?
Like, the Bills are 4-1,
yeah.
But the rest of the NFL is 12-62 when you have 3 or more turnovers in a game. So the Bills are overcoming their turnover woes, is what I'm saying.
So 8-56, the rest of the league. The Bills, So
that's what I'm saying.
I hope my math is right there.
Probably not. It's Friday. It's early. But what I will say is the Bills have overcome their adversities. Josh Allen is still Josh Allen. I think he could take off and run. But when I look at that Bengals team, and I know they didn't really put
the Bills turned it over 3 times this game, they're losing.
I think so too. I think that record changes if Josh Allen turns the ball over in key moments. Like, that's the problem. Well, that's the good thing about Josh Allen's turnovers is that it doesn't come in key moments. It might come in like the second drive, going towards the end zone, pick off in the red zone. That's okay. We'll overcome it. I wonder how many
turnovers he had in the Minnesota game where he fumbled in the end zone.
That had to be one of the 3+ days because that would give them that win. You know what I'm saying? Like even the Dolphins game. He's throwing interceptions. He's fumbling. So. Do these loom large in a game like this? I think the Bengals are a team just like the Chiefs. Like, you do not want to mess around. You don't want – because I know the Bengals didn't really turn it up against the Ravens. They just really didn't. It wasn't a stat day. They had a 98-yard fumble recovery for one of their scores. So it's like you're looking at this team, and all year long, you're looking at Joe Burrow, and he throws for a whole bunch of yards throughout the course of the year, 4,400 to be exact. Joe Burrow is that dude when it comes to December and January football. I don't think the moment gets too big for this kid. I think he's very composed and cool in the pocket, makes plays when he has to. Jamar Chase against that Bills secondary, T. Higgins against the secondary, then you got Tyler Boyd, then you got the Bengals have a lot of firepower. Do you agree with that? As far as like this one could be a shootout?
I'm looking at the DVOA for offense, defense, and total. Right now, total Buffalo, San Fran, Philly, KC, Cincinnati, Dallas.
And that adjusts every week?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
and this is
playoffs count too?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, this is regular season. But you want me to go to playoffs?
No, I was just curious.
Regular season and playoffs, it didn't change a thing.
Okay.
They're still 1 through 6 the exact same way. 6 out of the 8 teams left are in the top 6. So that's kind of cool. And I think almost like you see how good really the Bengals are, because I don't think they were really inserted into this conversation with the teams that have a legitimate chance until December. But they're top 5 in almost every metric. I'm looking at their offensive line. The DVOA is good. The adjusted line yards is top 7. The Bengals are a really good football team. And then if you're looking across the other way, the Bills are number 1 team in DVOA, right? And that's offensively. And then they're second in defense or third in defense, which is absurd.
Yeah.
So this is the best matchup of the week. This might be the best matchup of the postseason. And then the winner.
Until next week's AFC Championship.
Yeah, so what we're seeing is it reminds me a lot of, it is funny because the 49ers are playing the Cowboys of those 90s seasons where it was like one of them and then there was like the Packers looming.
Starts to sneak around.
You know?
Favre starts slinging it around a little bit.
That's kind of what it looks like over in the AFC right now, where it's just loaded. You almost think, you get the sense where it's like, the Super Bowl is being played in the AFC Championship this year, and then it's like how it felt when Dallas got there. It was like, well, Buffalo's dead,
Yeah.
Pittsburgh's going to get dominated.
52-17.
But what game are we picking here? The Bengals?
Yeah,
Bengals are my Super Bowl champion.
I'm in on the Bengals too. I think they're going to pull this one out. I really do.
I don't know how much offense. This is going to be a wild game, I think, in the second half.
I think a Mahomes-Burrow AFC title game again would be
Higgins.
just as good. And you're in on T. Higgins. T.
Higgins
Higgins is your guy this week. All right, let's do it.
T. Higgins is like one of my favorite non-Packers in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean,
love the guy.
Has had a successful season, and now the pressure's off him with the drafting of Jamar Chase once upon a time. And all of a sudden, you get the one-on-one coverage you so desire, and T. Higgins can definitely take advantage of that very easily. All right. Primetime Sunday night, the Dallas Cowboys.
Tangent.
Yeah.
What game are we talking about again?
Yeah, no, the Dallas Cowboys taking on the San Francisco 49ers in San Francisco. Listen, I almost made a mistake, and I said every day I come in here and I put my Mojo hat on, I'm ready to go. Look, man, I'm sorry. I have to apologize to those out there. I'm not supporting the Mojo. I'm not using the Mojo hat today. I am putting on my Dallas Cowboy hat today because, look, it's one of the biggest games they've had in recent memory. It's been since 2018 they've even been in this position. We're a divisional round where they got stomped out by the Rams. It seems to me that Dallas always has that big feel-good win that they emptied the tank on in that first round and then they just don't show up in the second round. I don't think the Cowboys emptied the tank against Tampa. I think that game was in hand the entire time.
Yeah,
so
they definitely have some bullets in the chamber.
Yes, they absolutely do. Now, look, the Brock Purdy situation is what it is. The guy's been winning football games. He hasn't had to do a lot, but he sometimes does. He sometimes does light up the scoreboard, and you're like, holy crap, this guy can actually play quarterback, right? Mr. Irrelevant thing, that's dead, right? Nobody's going to ever call him that again, or they might just in reference to where he's been drafted. But as far as the Mojo stock for this kid is gone, it's shot through the roof because every time he wins games, he's putting up numbers, and they're just advancing. So now, in come a high-powered offense in the San Francisco 49ers, which are McCaffreys and the Debos and the Ayuks and the Kittles of the world. Like, there's a plethora of guys to stop. And the Dallas defense had to stop Tom Brady last week, along with the Godwins and the Evans and whoever plays, their tight end and Leonard Fournette. So they definitely had that wrapped up. This is a different beast for the Cowboys. There's not a single soul that I've seen out there outside of Cowboys media who are picking the Cowboys to win this game. So I'm all for that. I'm all for that feeling. I think that's a good spot to be in. Kind of like the Giants, where nobody's picking them, but they're giving them a fighting chance. If nobody thought that the Cowboys could win this game, the spread would be much higher. I think it's going to be close. I think they better make their field goals and their extra points. But this game in particular, when I look at both sides of the ball, the higher-powered offense is, in fact, the 49ers. But if a gun was to my head right now saying, win this big game right now, who do you want, Brock Purdy or Dak Prescott? It's not even close. It's not close. I think it's Dak.
If you put Dak on the 49ers right now, I agree they're a better football team than if they had Brock Purdy. That's no debate. But it doesn't matter because the sum of all parts is what we're talking about here, and that almost plays against Dak in this situation because, if it was them two heading up, deal. You could even maybe make the case about Parsons and Bosa. Like, would they interchangeable parts, really? I mean, I guess that wouldn't be the same case.
Bosa's about to win Defensive Player of the Year.
Because those two players are 1 and 1A when it comes to their position. Dak and Brock Purdy.
Bosa don't cover nobody, though. So he's just a pure pass rusher.
Yeah,
Parsons does a couple things.
Can I be honest? I think what that does is it shows how versatile he could be, but I don't know that necessarily puts Dallas defense in the best position. I think the Dallas defense is the best when Micah is getting after the quarterback.
Wholeheartedly
There's no doubt in my mind. And then when they sneak him back there on an off chance, that's fine. But when they have to adjust their game plan, a la the way they did in the Green Bay game, when Van Der Esch was out, they couldn't really rush Micah. You see what happens to that defense. They rely heavily on getting to the quarterback. 49ers have a really good offensive line, and they have a really good system when it comes to keeping their quarterback upright. And they almost have this Mac Jones-esque deal and Belichick approach to things where it's like, well, we're not going to even put him in a position to make the mistake. And really, I think the thing that's not getting talked enough about, and I don't want to necessarily bring this up because I know it's probably not what you want to hear on a Friday, but I don't think Mike McCarthy does well against Kyle Shanahan career. NFC Championship.
You want story?
Matt
McCarthy
Ryan.
Started with San Francisco. So, that's where he started his coaching career.
Can I explain? When Mike McCarthy got hired as the Packers head coach, he was coming from the 1-15 San Francisco 49ers. 1-15, the Packers hired him. I was like, what's going on here?
Yeah, how does that work?
I don't know. But I'll tell you this.
And then you stuck with it for 10 years.
The Packers, the whole boat trip season with the Giants, that was the year that the Packers got knocked out by the Falcons. Who was the offensive coordinator for the Falcons? Kyle Shanahan. Then you know the history with Green Bay and Shanahan. So it's like, I think McCarthy's looking at this one like, all right, I got to figure this dude out. Right? He has some good parts, but this defense is probably the best one that Shanahan's had. And that's saying a lot because they've had really good defenses.
I agree.
It's going to be a tough one for Dallas. I do think the game is going to be close. I think it's going to come down to the wire. 49ers are a tough team. I'll say that. Who am I in on? CeeDee, because I like him on the crossing routes, and I think that he's going to...
Their corners can definitely be had.
Their corners could be had, and you don't need to... I think that the 49ers are going to put pressure on Dak this week. But there's still going to be some openings, and this is the Cowboys' offensive line isn't necessarily struggling right now. They're playing well.
They're down Jason Peters.
Struggles,
he's out.
But they're as a unit, as a whole, over the last month, they're like Dak's not. It's not been the issue. Isn't Dak getting thrown around?
No,
they haven't played the 49ers though. So, 49ers wise, I mean, McCaffrey, you can't not be in on. Dallas has struggled, I guess, against running backs more so than what they've done. Struggled against other positions this year.
They've also struggled against quarterbacks in their first year.
They're good against the pass.
You would think that, when you're looking at this game as a whole on the surface, you're like, okay, all right, enough of the Brock Purdy thing. Is he going to go to the Super Bowl and win the damn thing? Brock Purdy, is it that story? Are we going to see that for the first time in NFL history? A rookie quarterback goes to the Super Bowl and wins?
Brock Purdy, definitely.
Yeah,
there's no
fine,
question about
future,
it.
great.
I mean,
but he has also not played a defense like Dallas.
No,
not at all.
He hasn't.
Both of these teams are touted as the best defenses in football of the first, 5-6 weeks of the year.
I don't think he's played a defense like Dallas, but they're beating the piss out of these teams that they're playing.
Yeah.
Too, so it's like, it's not like he's having to struggle at all. We'll see. No quarterback is good when they're getting thrown around the backfield. So
if they could do that,
if they could do that, I don't care. You could say first round pick overall. We watched Trevor Lawrence just throw 4 picks in the first quarter.
Yeah.
If you're struggling, you're struggling. It doesn't matter who you are. It won't be because he's the last pick in the draft. It'll be because there's Micah Parsons in his face. Brock Purdy's legit. He's really good at what he needs to be doing for this team. He's not. You can't look at the 49ers and say, "Oh, Brock Purdy." He's
Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, that's over.
He's Jimmy Garoppolo.
They're not hurting because of Brock
Just
Purdy.
younger.
This team does not lack confidence because Brock Purdy's the starter.
No, they got behind him, and that's what you're supposed to do. Jets.
Yeah.
You're supposed to get behind these kids. Did you see all that stuff that's coming out?
Yeah,
oh, my God.
Yeah. Well, I would be upset if I wasn't getting... I have a soft spot for Mike LaFleur.
Well, now he's gone, and he was junked over there in New York, according to The Athletic.
Fall guy.
Very big fall guy. Huge fall guy. But that's the preview, man. That's the 4 games going down this weekend. Next week, we'll be talking about...
Jet fans were talking so good about Mike LaFleur last offseason. When I'm talking like, bro, he's the man. His brother's such a good coach. New York.
Maybe it's a bad situation. You know?
York, yeah.
It was a Zach Wilson vehicle.
You know what it was? He's the one that came out and publicly said, we probably shouldn't have started Zach Wilson last year. And the GM was like, and the owner was like, we said we should, and you're going to, so he's like, well, you're out.
Bye-bye.
And he's probably like, yeah, fine, deal.
Yeah.
He's going to get hired in a week and a day.
Is his brother going to hire him?
Honestly, I wouldn't mind.
There's been some coaching movement in the last couple hours.
I was seeing,
or last couple days.
I'm looking at the Rams have lost so many coaches over the course of the last couple seasons. So I would imagine some of these failed coordinators that went other places will start making their way back to the Sean McVay coaching tree.
We shall see. We shall see. But you can see us all over this channel right here. Like this video. All right. Subscribe to the channel. We got a lot of cool content coming your way. Obviously, the playoffs are here. More sports are coming. We're going to have new audiences coming sooner or later. It's going to happen. We're excited about it. But you can also follow us on social media right now, which you can do that by heading on over to Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, at Mojo, M-O-J-O. Very easy to find us. And, of course, the Discord, which is a happening conversation each and every day, figuring out which stocks you want to go in on, long, short, Brock Purdy, Dak Prescott, whoever you're going in on this week, do it responsibly. Don't be a fool. Don't lose all your money because you need more money for next week because next week, believe it or not, we're down to 4 teams, man. We're down to the AFC and the NFC championship game to preview next week. It's going to be good. And next week, we'll definitely touch back on a lot of the guys that were eliminated situation.
Start hooping soon.
Yeah, start basketball coverage very soon. There's a lot going on over here at Mojo. So thanks for sticking with us. Thank you for the support. We appreciate you each and every day. For Dave Sturchio and, of course, Chris Gueci, A5 behind the glass. This has been another episode of the Mojo Market Report. Enjoy the football. On Monday, my voice might, be a little hoarse. Chris might have to take the show. I'll just kind of sit here and nod the entire time because I'm going to empty the clip on Sunday night at my father's house. Sorry, Dad. See you guys next time.
Even if you win, you're going to lose the next week.